What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I would like to welcome you all to another edition of Wayne's Perspective, where we operate in discipline, decency, integrity, and respect. And I'm coming through with another video just for you. All right, y'all. So currently it is June 13th, 2024. It is 7:43 p.m. in the Richmond, Virginia area, hashtag 804. I hope everyone is doing okay as we head into Father's Day weekend. Everyone, hope you all are doing just fine, taking every day one day at a time and living life the best way you know how. Me, I'm doing just fine, as you all can probably tell. No complaints on my end. I'm living life the best way I know how. 2 weeks before my 40th birthday on June 25th, and I'm taking every day one day at a time as usual. So, this video, okay, not a reaction video this time, but I am going to read an article courtesy of the Bulwark. Now, I'm pretty sure some of you, if not all of you listening to this, um, heard about what happened this week regarding the trial of Hunter Biden, who is Joe Biden's living son. And basically, he was found guilty on the 3 charges that were assessed to him. And I'm pretty sure that the article that I'm going to read is going to touch on that. Now, I only read this article once, and after I read it, I was like, yeah, this is going to be a subject for a video. So it's going to touch on those charges as well. But what I really want to highlight in this video and with this article is the stark contrast regarding how Joe Biden handled this and how Donald Trump handled those charges that he was convicted of in his New York trial a few weeks ago. I mean, the contrast is so stark and so visible. You couldn't miss it if you tried. And that's what I'm going to highlight in this particular video. And one word on Hunter Biden, if I may. Now, again, I know this is the president's son. He's not on the ballot. He's not in his administration or anything like that. And the way that I see it, like other people see it, if you broke the law, you need to be punished. You need to be held accountable for your actions, no matter who you are, who your father is, how powerful he is, et cetera, et cetera. You need to be held accountable for your actions. It's that simple. And in a case like this, I would say that, justice was served based on what I saw and based on what I read. So the only thing that's going to come about now is, what is his sentence going to be? What is his sentence going to be? And based on, again, what I've been reading and what I've been hearing, he may not serve any jail time. And quite frankly, on the other end, regarding Donald Trump, I don't think he's going to serve a day in jail as well. I'd be surprised if either one of these men serve any time in jail. But I don't want to go too much into that. But again, regarding Hunter Biden, now, like I said, if you broke the law, if you did wrong, you should be held accountable for your actions. It's that simple. Now, do I sympathize with him? I mean, I can't say that I do. I mean, I'm not being heartless or whatever. I don't view it from that much of a personal lens, mainly because in my own personal life, I don't know too many people who've had the type of problems that he's had. I mean, I can say that with certainty. Now, if there are some instances in my own personal life, on either side of my family, I'm not privy to those. And even if I was privy to those, I probably wouldn't go into that here, for obvious reasons. But I would say in a case like this, many Americans do sympathize with such a story. Now, is this going to play a role in the November elections? I doubt it. Is the Trump factor going to play a role in the elections? Probably so. I think because Trump is on the ballot, Hunter Biden is not. So do I think this is going to hurt or help Joe Biden? I don't know. It's not going to help. And if anything, it may end up helping him more so than hurting him because people sympathize with the story. So going forward, I don't think anything regarding Hunter Biden should be coming up from the Republicans, in terms of him coming to the Hill to testify, doing anything like that. You can't make him a campaign issue because really after his trial, I mean, why else would you keep bringing him up? You can't pin something to Joe Biden that's not there. You can't force it no matter how much you try. So like I said, again, if you break the law, you need to be held accountable. Plain and simple. I don't have any issues with people who feel as though they sympathize with his situation. And even if you don't sympathize with his situation, you know, I get it. However, this article that we're going to go into is basically going to tell everything that you need to. Well, let me back up. Let me do that again. This article is going to tell you everything that you need to know regarding the stark contrast between how Joe Biden handled his son's conviction and how Donald Trump handled his. So with all that being said, we're going to go ahead and get right into it. Right. All right. So here we go. Again, this is courtesy of the Bulwark. I really like this site. Credit to Jill Lawrence for her article. This is dated June 12th, 2024. So I'm going to go ahead and get right into it and start reading with you all. Just hear me out, follow through with me, and listen to all these details. Yes, some of this is going to have a lot of opinions, but the majority of this article is based on facts. So we're going to go ahead and get right into it. So Joe Biden won't give up on Hunter or America. Who is the real tough guy in this race? It's not Donald Trump. I agree. We get it, America. You think Donald Trump is tough and Joe Biden is compassionate and therefore not tough enough. But you got it exactly backwards. Trump whines so constantly about what I've been through that he should adopt Poor, Poor, Pitiful Me as his campaign song. And let's keep it clear. That guy is not a victim. He never has been a victim, never will be a victim. Let's continue on. Don't mistake Biden's empathy for weakness. The major challenges he has confronted in his first term have required focus, discipline, yes indeed, and strength from the death, destruction, and global destabilization of two raging wars to his own son's prosecution on gun charges and the jury's guilty verdict Tuesday. Persistence, restraint, forcefulness, forbearance, these qualities speak to an underlying toughness, and Biden has demonstrated them all during his presidency. The Hunter Biden saga is no exception. Here's what I mean. When he took office, Joe Biden retained Delaware's Trump-appointed U.S. Attorney David Weiss to finish an investigation into whether Hunter Biden falsified a gun form and evaded taxes while he was addicted to drugs. Joe Biden did not attack the justice system when a Trump-appointed judge, Mariella Norica, questioned Hunter's plea agreement, which ultimately fell apart. That's important. Joe Biden didn't comment or intervene when Attorney General Merrick Garland, his own appointee, elevated Weiss to special counsel status, allowing him broader authority to investigate and bring charges. That's true as well. Now, let me talk about that for a brief moment. Now, you notice that these are, Trump appointments, appointees, I should say. And in this case, Joe Biden was well within his rights to make a call to have them replaced, but he didn't do that, So he pretty much just stayed out of it, for the lack of a better way to explain it. And the results spoke for themselves, whereas if the shoe was on the other foot, if this was Donald Trump, and it was a holdover from, the Obama administration, and I'm pretty sure he did something like that, the results would be different. He more than likely, he would have fired him. He wouldn't have kept them on because they came from the Obama administration. And yeah, there would have been a controversy at the same time, but you think that would have deterred him? Hell no. So yeah, so this is important right here. Biden didn't attack the justice system and he didn't comment or intervene regarding what Merrick Garland did or didn't do. And those are important here. Whereas if it was Donald Trump, y'all know what he would have done. Plain and simple. Let's continue on. When his son went on trial in Wilmington, again in Norica's courtroom, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing that wrong, Joe Biden did not attack the judge. He also said he would not pardon Hunter if he were convicted. After the guilty verdict Tuesday, the president said he was proud of the man he is today and added, quote unquote, as I also said last week, I will accept the outcome of this case and will continue to respect the judicial process as Hunter considers an appeal. Now, this is the appropriate response, from a father and from a president, and let me say this too before I even get further into the article. Now, if Donald Trump's son, Donald Jr., let's use it for an example. Okay, here's the way that I would see it. Can't speak for anybody else. If Donald Trump Jr. was facing similar issues or worse issues, and the situation was totally different, and Donald Trump was there for his son, just like Joe Biden is there for his, and it wasn't all this controversy, and all of that. And a similar situation fell on Don Jr. and everything was different in terms of how Donald Trump Sr. approached it and responded to it. My response will be different. If your son is facing issues and he's in the public, right? And you know, nobody is making fun of his conditions or trying to downplay or doubt his addictions or whatever. And it was a legit feeling that he's trying to clean himself up or already has cleaned himself up. Basically, to put it in perspective, if Donald Trump Jr. was in the same position as Hunter Biden and there wasn't all this controversy or whatever, if he was in a similar position and Donald Trump Sr. treated it as such and it wasn't, this or that, my response would be different. And how would my response be different? I'll basically say, okay, Donald Trump Jr., okay, good for you. You taking care of what you need to take care of. You trying to change, you trying to do this or that, that would be my position, as well as if he was on trial for his activities and his behavior and he accepted what was going on, basically, all of that, I would give them credit for that. But that's not the reality here, so I just wanted to use that as an example. So basically, overall, if Donald Trump Jr. was in Hunter Biden's shoes and it was something similar or worse, and the Trumps were a different set of people, I would respond appropriately. Or should I say, in this case, I would respond accordingly, and I'm pretty sure other Americans would respond accordingly too. But since this is not them, then we're not going to take that stance because it's not them, if you get what I'm saying. And I think if you're listening to me on this one, I think you get the points that I'm making here, So continuing on, as it says here, Joe Biden did not attack the judge. He said little to nothing about it, and he stands with his son. He accepts the outcome of the case and will respect the judicial process. That's the way it's supposed to be. Whereas y'all heard and saw what Donald Trump was doing during his New York trial, and had anybody else acted the way that he did, they probably would have faced worse consequences. But, that protection of him being a former president and being Donald damn Trump, y'all know what it was. I mean, we saw it on full display, So let's carry on. Although prosecutions in gun cases like Hunter's are rare, as even some conservatives have noted, Biden did not call the system rigged. That's true. He did not howl about the unfairness of it all. That's true. And he left it to others to make a point that should be obvious. Trump's convictions last month are not the same as Hunter's. As filmmaker, TV producer Morgan J. Freeman joked shortly after the verdict, how would this affect Hunter Biden's campaign? Exactly. That is a good point. And again, going back to this paragraph right here, no, Joe Biden didn't say the system was rigged. Trump was doing that. He did not say that it was unfair or people are out to persecute my son or any of this stuff. He kept quiet. He said nothing. And that is important here. We're not talking about policy right now. We're just talking about morals, human decency, and respecting the judicial process. Now, we can all come at the judicial process because it's broken. It needs to be fixed across the damn board. But look at the stark contrast here regarding how Biden approached this situation and how Trump approached his. It's like night and day, folks. Carrying on. Patty Davis, a president's daughter and a self-described former speed and cocaine addict, wrote this week that Hunter's actions and illness forced Joe Biden into a choice between the primal urge to protect the child and the public responsibility to uphold the law. That is a terrible, terrible place to be. And I agree with that, because you look at it this way. Now, I'm pretty sure deep down Joe Biden wants to pardon his son, but you got to think of it. Now, if he did pardon his son, there'd be an uproar. Whereas if Donald Trump would have pardoned Donald Trump Jr. in a similar situation or worse, there would be an uproar, but the Republicans would support it. I don't think the Democrats would, and people would just move on after a couple of weeks. Yeah, it'll be a major news story, but rest assured that after a couple of weeks or so, it's going to be just another thing, you know. But you see that it's almost like if the Democrats would do it in a case like this, there will be an uproar along with other complications. It'll be a news story for quite some time. Whereas if Trump does it, it'll be an uproar for a couple of weeks and people will move on. You see the differences here? No, this ain't no media bias here or anything like that. It's just that I can guarantee you that if there was a situation like that, that's exactly how it would be portrayed. Continuing on. Biden was strong enough and tough enough to choose upholding the law, which Trump doesn't do. He was also tough enough to keep a speaking engagement with gun safety advocates, many of whom have experienced personal tragedy involving guns, a few hours after his son was convicted on all 3 gun charges. That's important. And he was tough enough to weather what happened at that event. Never give up on hope, Biden told the audience at the conference hosted by the group Every Time for Gun Safety. Then a protester began shouting at him about genocide, upset about deaths in Gaza amid Israel's fierce response to last fall's Hamas attack. The Biden-friendly crowd erupted into chants of 4 more years, drowning out the heckler. Biden's response was remarkable. No, 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 he said. Folks, it's okay. Look, they care. Innocent children have been lost. They make a point. Then he dove into a modified campaign mode, asking his folks if they remember when my predecessor told an Iowa community to get over it after a school shooting. They did remember. I remember it too. Hell no, we don't have to get over it, the president said. We've got to stop it. We've got to stop it and stop it now. Cue another round of cheers and applause. Yeah, that's important. Talk about a crucible. All on the day his son was convicted of crimes that could have resulted in tragedy, but did not. Hunter owned the gun at the center of the federal case against him for only 11 days, and his lawyer said he had never loaded it or used it. It also takes strength and discipline for a president to let the Justice Department do its job without fear, favor, public criticism, or outright meddling. Trump expected the department and his attorney general to do his bidding. In the case of his pardon powers, he bypassed official channels almost entirely so that he could, as the New York Times reported, wipe away convictions and prison sentences for a roster of corrupt politicians and business executives, as well as an assortment of cronies, allies, advisors, celebrities, and operatives. And their crimes actually harm people, unlike the crime for which Hunter Biden was convicted. Not surprisingly, some recipients of Trump's careless largesse are in legal trouble again, ABC News reports. The definitive indictment from Amanda Copper and Grant Tudor of let me do that again, y'all. The definitive indictment comes from Amanda Copper and Grant Tudor of Protect Democracy. He created a new class of henchman pardons to protect himself, reward loyalists, and encourage violence. They write, that's not toughness, it's fear and self-preservation. Exactly. This is not a complete list. You could probably think of your own additions to it, but here's why I see Biden being tough-minded. Check this out, y'all. Navigating the extremely complicated Israel-Hamas war, he has empathized with traumatized Israelis and Palestinians, criticized Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's tactics, and denounced Hamas for its brutality, sexual abuse, and slaughter of Israeli civilians last October. But he has been adamant about looking to the future, a future of compromise and coexistence and self-government. And on May 31, boldly promoted an ambitious ceasefire proposal that miraculously is still alive. He has displeased and frustrated a chunk of his own party by doing what's necessary on political, logistical, and humanitarian grounds to secure and bring order to the southern border. After cynical Republicans killed a bipartisan compromise so they could prolong the crisis and campaign on it, he's been willing to attempt a fix of his own. Now, let me talk about that a little bit. Now, when you're president, no matter which party, you're not going to please everybody. Some people are going to agree with some of the things you do. Others are going to agree on not anything that you do. Some may agree with everything you do. I mean, that comes with the job. Even I know that. And I think all of you listening to this know that too. But in this case with the border, which I feel is a essential issue too, you definitely want to do what's right about the border. And not only that, something should be done with the border at this point, because they've been talking about this for decades now, and just when it seems like there's progress, we never get anywhere. It's always back to square one. And they did have a bipartisan compromise, like the article notes here, but it was killed basically at the behest of Donald damn Trump, which is crazy. But then a couple of weeks ago, Joe Biden, he signed an executive order regarding the border, but then you get some of the Republicans talking down on that, and I guess some other people weren't too crazy about that. And then I'm thinking, man, okay, so if you do something, even if it's by executive order, it's not enough. If you do nothing, it's a problem. So which one is it? You can't, with all due respect, you can't blame Biden for the bipartisan compromise being killed because he was ready to sign it. But y'all saw what the Republicans did. Y'all saw what Trump did. So, I mean, it's a case of you damned if you do, you damned if you don't, pretty much. And that's what's happening here. So, I mean, even if it's not fully what people may want, which I understand, and I understand the criticisms there, but at the same time, I would say take a wait and see approach regarding how the border turns out, and then we go from there. And I think history, even a quick history or recent history, is going to judge whether the executive order was effective or whether it wasn't. And then, once we see those results, then we'll come back to the table and we'll have a discussion about it and go from there. Either it's going to do its thing or it's not. It's that simple. Next up, he understands the urgency of standing with and for Ukraine and is gradually seeing the need to unshackle his military to strike inside Russia. He is putting up with endless carping about his age, 81, and calls to step aside and handling it mostly with jokes. Not that it matters, but Trump turns 78 on Friday. Now you see, Trump is pushing 80 as well. He's an old man too. It's not like he's a spring chicken. Joe Biden is not a spring chicken. But I guess because Biden is president, his age is going to receive more coverage, whereas Trump doesn't. And I don't even recall them even talking about Trump's age that much during his 4 years in office, So it befuddles the mind when, people make a big deal about Joe Biden's age, and I guess because he's the president or whatever, whereas, you hear little to nothing about Trump's age, and pretty much Trump is showing his age, Biden is showing his age too, so it should be an equal thing here, if you will. It shouldn't be because Biden is a few years older and that makes him more of a liability, but you treating Trump like he's 28 instead of 78. Like, give me a break. He is running for re-election, yes, but not to stay out of prison or the courtroom, not to pardon his friends and punish his enemies, not to quash the 2 federal cases against him or pardon himself if that fails, not to be a dictator on day one or however many days he feels like it. No, as Biden often says, he is running to finish the job. That's 100% true. As it happened, a shooter opened fire at an Atlanta food court while Biden was talking to the gun safety advocates in Washington. Now, I didn't see many news reports about that. I didn't see anything on YouTube about it. I didn't see anything on the Washington Post about it or anywhere else, so I need to check that out. We all agree we are not finished, he was telling them. You're proving that you're powerful and you're relentless, he added. We have no choice. We cannot give up trying. And then he went home to Delaware where Hunter and his family were waiting for him. Yep. So there you have it right there. And I think that article, it says it all regarding, Biden's response to his son's convictions and how Trump responded to his convictions in the New York trial. And like I said, it's like night and day. So what's the overall point here? The overall point is that when it comes to something like this, yes, the response is different, and it is a difficult thing when it's your son that's in trouble, if you will. But when you're president of the United States, your conduct is what matters, Now, do I think this is going to move the needle in terms of votes? I'm not sure. It may make Joe Biden, a little more sympathetic. I do see that, but at the end of the day, Hunter Biden is not going to be on the ballot in November. Joe Biden is, and Donald Trump is, So no, it's not me. No, there's no cape in here. I'm just giving it to you how I see it, and even if I was in office right now, I would pretty much be saying the same things, and that's what we've come to here, and again, the contrast is stark. It's stark and it's visible. You couldn't miss it if you tried. I'm not surprised that Biden responded this way. And quite frankly, on the other end, I'm not surprised at how Trump responded you know, in his case as well, you know, you don't see Hunter Biden out there saying that, you know, it's a witch hunt, they're out to get me, they're out to persecute me. And you damn sure don't hear Joe Biden talking about, you know, the system is rigged, the judge is rigged, the judge should be jailed, the jurors should have something happen to them, you know. And another thing regarding the jurors, you notice that some of the jurors from Hunter Biden's trial, they're speaking out, whereas no jurors on that Trump trial is saying anything. That's another stark contrast right there. And I wonder why they're not saying anything, you know. So yeah, so overall, the point of this is that I'm pretty sure deep down Joe Biden wants to pardon his son, but he's not. Mainly because, again, number one, when you do wrong, you need to be held accountable for your actions, no matter who you are, who the president is, or who your father is. You know, you need to be held accountable. And second of all, you let the country know how you're acting as president, you know, and everybody is seeing it in real time. You know, my vote was not going to change either way. You know, now, how would I feel if Biden pardoned his son? Now, I don't think I would feel any sort of way about it. Also, if he did it after saying he wouldn't do it, then I would probably have to ask some questions about that, you know, what change, you know. But overall, I mean, it is what it is, you know. And again, overall, the contrast could not be any more stark and visible here. You know, on one end, you got somebody acting like a responsible president and a responsible father, and you got Trump acting like Trump. And that's the end of this video. So if you like what you heard and you're ready to become part of Team Discipline, go ahead and hit that like button and drop some comments if you're feeling the content. And last but not least, hit that subscribe button along with the bell so you're notified when I drop new videos. And until next time, my people, take care of yourselves and remember the power of the mind is valuable.